Hi everyone, it's MrMostDaysOff from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. I want to say thank you so much for tuning into our podcast and also let you know of 3 additional ways you can help out the show. First, you can find and buy our merchandise at tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. You can also support our sponsors popthreads.com for all your other t-shirt needs and use our discount code Simpsons at checkout. And finally, you can find us on patreon.com. Thank you again so much for listening to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and please enjoy this week's podcast. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by 2 dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as MrMostDaysOff, and today, well, it's getting dark, actually. We're gonna lose a part of ourselves reviewing this episode. We're talking about Bart sells his soul, and of course, joining me, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie theWizKid. How you doing today, Rich?
You know, Miles, to put a little correctiveness into what you just said, you can't lose something that you never had to begin with, and I'm talking about you, sir.
Touche.
Especially when somebody already paid for it on Patreon, or maybe multiple people.
That's true. That's true. I am no longer the possessor of my soul, but you can own a part of it. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you to plug our Patreon. That's patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. Own a piece of my soul today for only $5 a month. Dirt cheap, folks.
Dirt cheap. You know, Miles, before we get into this review, I want to touch on something that I believe you said in our Season 6 finale spectacular.
Spectacular?
Yes, exactly. Man, if this is only the second episode with Weinstein and Oakley, but I really, really like their stuff, man. If this is, like, these episodes, I remember, like, enjoying them, but last week and this week, after actually sitting down to take notes and review it, there's just something about the way they put an episode together and the way that it flows that I really, really enjoy. And I didn't think I would be like this gung-ho about new showrunners after David Merkin and this fast. But if this is any indication of how good their stuff's going to be, we're going to have a lot of fun for the next 2 seasons.
You're like that meme right now where the guy's like walking with the one chick but looking back at the other chick, and it's Merkin and Oakley and Weinstein. So yeah, I feel you on that too, actually.
But wait! You can't talk, Miles. I have not thrown it back to you. Everybody, listen. He is the man. He is the myth. He is the Iron Butterfly. He is Miles.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, I love everything about this opening, so let's get into that right now. We are talking about Bart Sells His Soul today, which originally aired on October 8th, 1995. It does have a new chalk gag of "I am not a lean, mean spitting machine," but you have to think, how did he end up writing that sentence? And we get a really weird couch gag, actually, where the entire Simpsons crew comes riding in the living room on little white cars with fezzes, very much like the Shriners do while on parade, which actually reminds me of the second level of the Simpsons arcade game, where you have to fight the Shriners.
Yes, those bastards.
We open on the church, which has probably the best sign I've seen so far in the background. It says, "No shoes, no shirts, no salvation."
That's typically how it goes, Miles.
Which really makes you wonder, because I've seen a lot of images of that Jesus guy, and he's never wearing a shirt.
Uh-oh.
Or shoes, for that matter.
I know, he's always got the Miles sandals going on.
What a hypocrite, man. That whole religion is full of lies.
Did you say hippie?
Yes. So, wow.
I broke you.
We're off to a good start.
I broke you.
We're off to a good start. We see that the Springfieldians are filing into church, and Bart is actually handing out the hymnals, which seems pretty out of character, don't you think?
Immediately a red flag if you're anybody that's an adult.
Hymns here. I got hymns here. Get them while they're holy. Fresh from God's brain to your mouth.
And now, please rise for our opening hymn, In the Garden of Eden by Iron Butterfly.
And this is just so wonderful because we get the entire congregation coming in together, and actually a really fun version. It's played on the organ by this poor old woman that is just
a
pounding
badass.
those keys. Yeah, she is a badass. I mean, she's covering Iron Butterfly. But it's the townspeople who come in. I honestly don't know if we're going to get a copyright for this or not, but they come in together in a harmonious rock and roll cry.
In the Garden of Eden, honey, don't you know that I love you? In the Garden of Eden, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true?
Dun, 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 dun. Such a good scene. I love all of it. I love how at one point it actually flashes that says 17 minutes later. And that's a little bit of a nod to the fact that that song, Indigada de Vida, is in fact just over 17 minutes long.
Whew. What a hymn. I mean, that's pretty normal for hymn length, isn't it?
It seems like they last that long usually, but this one was actually enjoyable.
Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Sorry.
No, I get it, dude. I was listening to it before we started, legit, and it's such a good song. There's a lot of fun lore with that song, too, which many of you may have heard, or some of you might not have any idea what we're talking about at all. But that song, Indigada de Vida, which was supposed to be titled In the Garden of Eden, but supposedly after the recording session, whoever it was that told the producer the name of the song was either too tired or too high, depending on who story you hear. And so it came out Indigada de Vida.
Indigada de Vida.
Which is how we ended up with this wonderful 17-minute song that is either rock and or roll.
That's some really cool backside. Backside? That's a
Insight?
good word.
Yeah, either way. Backside. Background insight.
I said the other thing, but I'm either too tired or too high. I don't know.
It's one of them. So, partway through this rock ballad, Reverend Lovejoy realizes what is happening, and immediately when the song is over, or when the sermon's over, I'm not sure which, they cut to Reverend Lovejoy guilt-tripping all of the children that were in the congregation.
I do want to say that ever since I saw this episode for the first time and then had the songs in the key of Springfield, that anytime I hear rock and roll, I always say, wait a minute, this sounds like rock and or roll.
I
like,
do the same thing.
It's embedded in my brain forever, and I love it.
100% agree. I can't say it. Anytime somebody's asking me what type of music do I want to play, a lot of times I'll be like, can we have some rock and or roll?
I know one of you is responsible for this, so repeat after me. If I withhold the truth, may I go straight to hell, where I will eat naught but burning hot coals and drink naught but burning hot cola.
Where fiery demons will punch me in the back. Where my soul will be chopped into confetti and be strewn upon a parade of murderers and single mothers.
Where my tongue will be torn out by ravenous birds. Ah! Bart did it! That Bart right there!
Millhouse!
Millhouse, you did the right thing. Bart, come with me for punishment. You too, Snitchy.
First of all, fuck Millhouse. What a dick. Oh my god, he's so...
I like how he says it like there's another Bart in the room.
That Bart right there! And I mean, to be fair, the bird that was sitting outside the window not only squawked, but also did the, Reagan head twist 180 degrees. But I think birds can do that, so it's not as weird.
I don't remember seeing that
It,
part.
turned its neck, all the way around.
I thought it was just, more of a 45 to 90 degree turn, but still a little weird, I guess.
I don't know. It seemed like an awful strong angle for this bird, and it was spooky, but Millhouse just immediately, drops... just drops the dime on Bart.
What a jerk.
He really is. But I love that Reverend Lovejoy is like, you did the right thing. Now come along for your punishment, Snitchy.
Yeah.
And what a fitting punishment it is to have them actually have to clean out the pipes in the organ since they defiled them with that
phrasing?
Pagan music. or secular music, whatever it was.
Yes, sec.
We immediately, as soon as Reverend Lovejoy walks away, Bart calls Milhouse out. He says, like, why'd you turn on me, you rat, basically.
He calls him a shank.
And they get into a discussion where Milhouse was basically, he admitted that he was afraid that birds were going to peck at his soul for all of eternity.
Soul? Come on, Milhouse. There's no such thing as a soul. It's just something they made up to scare kids, like the Boogeyman or Michael Jackson.
So,
even though I met Michael Jackson kind of one time.
Right, yeah. Well, they kind of get into it here, into a philosophical discussion, you might say, about the existence of a soul. And Bart is very flippant about the whole thing, just being how silly it is, while Milhouse is trying to defend it. And he's getting a little crazy himself. I mean, he says things like, if you sneeze, that's your soul trying to escape, and saying God bless you is what crams it back in.
Did you notice the joke in the earlier line when he says, but every religion says there's a soul, Bart? Why would they lie? What would they have to gain?
Yes.
It immediately cuts to Lovejoy gathering money that people have donated to the church.
Honestly, that's probably my personal favorite joke in this whole episode.
I didn't remember that. I don't remember that part at all.
It's right on the nose. So good. It's exactly what it is, too, but it's a whole different discussion. They get into it, and finally Bart's like, fine, if you like soul so much, I'll sell you mine. And it's like for $5 is what Milhouse has on him. But Bart's like, sure. And he ends up writing on a piece of paper, Bart Simpson's soul, and signing it.
He didn't sign it, I didn't think. I thought he just said Bart Simpson's soul.
Oh, maybe it did. I thought he signed it.
I thought it just said Bart Simpson's soul.
Well, I have a story about this later that I might be confusing the details. The story of where this came to be from, Richie, the origin of this tale. But I'm going to save that for just a little bit later.
You tease.
Actually, for now, I'll talk about the true origin, which is, in fact, the movie, the German film or novel, one of the two. It's a German production, Faust, in which a man who has everything and seems to be riding high isn't satisfied with life and does, in fact, make a deal with the devil. He sells his soul for success and riches and whatnot, and it turns out that while at first, much like Bart, he thinks he got the upper hand, he goes to realize that maybe his soul was more valuable than he once thought.
Well, I mean, if it literally is the devil, you know that that's going to be a terrible ending, right?
You would think, from what I know about the guy. Unless it's the South Park devil, and then you'll just probably want to play Red Dead 2.
I haven't seen that yet. Oh. Well, my thing is, at the end of this little scene, like, I don't know why, but I just always enjoy the last two lines between Milhouse and Bart, where Milhouse like, pleasure doing business with you.
So that was actually a nod to the Faust that I was talking about, the movie form, where, what's the name? Mesophyto?
Mistopheles?
Mistopheles, yes, that's it. Doom. Nicely done, sir. Yeah, Mistopheles.
Pull that out of my Mistopheles.
Mistopheles is who Milhouse is kind of drawn an homage to in that sequence.
But is Bart's line part of that too? Because that's the part that I was waiting to do where he goes, anytime, chum. just the way that they cheat that. What?
I love that line. That's just a great joke, I think.
Okay. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah. Next up, we see the Hibbert family, actually, which is kind of
B-plot.
strange. Yeah, but this is a weird cutaway to the B-plot. But as we've talked about, I think, on the Season 6 Spectacular, the new showrunners are going to be expanding out and exploring the other characters of Springfield as well, even though their first two episodes were very, very Simpson-centric. The first one being more about the entire family, and this one being more about the siblings.
Yeah, but I mean, we're also getting into the full-blown Weinstein and Oakley stuff, so this is where they get to be a little more creative.
Sure. I love, basically, the Hibberts are trying to decide what family restaurant they should go to. They have things like the Spaghetti Laboratory, Face Stuffers, and they also have Professor P.J. Cornucopia's Fantastic Food Megorium and Great American Steakery, which all of these are just parodies on these chain restaurants that are very popular in the United States, like TGI Fridays or Chili's or Applebee's, things of that nature.
Or the actual Spaghetti Laboratory.
Spaghetti Warehouse, things like that. Well, they actually drive by Moe's and decide, hey, we've never tried this place before, and they decide, why not? They'll give it a go.
Ah! Natural light! Get it off me! Get it off me!
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was a family restaurant.
Oh, it is. Just, pull them stools up to the pool table.
Daddy, this place smells like tinkle. I think we'll just go to the Texas Cheesecake Depository. That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Probably just because of where we live, but yeah, that's great.
Well, I just love it too because this is before, I feel like this is way before Cheesecake Factory was such a big deal, but I could be wrong because we were just kids at this time.
Yeah, I don't think it had taken off like it has in today's era, but either way, it makes Mo realize that maybe the bar business isn't where it's at, that family restaurants are all the buzz these days.
You ain't thinking of getting rid of the dank, are you, Mo?
Yeah, maybe I am.
Oh, but Mo, the dank! The dank!
Mo realizes that he needs to have an establishment that people aren't afraid or embarrassed to bring their families to.
I'm not ashamed. Plop.
And Homer plops Maggie on the bar. Mo's response here is great. Hey, put a coaster under that.
Which, I just gotta throw it out there, because I'm sure a lot of people out there in Simpsons fandom are on the same page as me, but we obviously know, years down the road, Mo will change the bar so many different times. He'll make it into everything you can imagine by the time we catch up to the current Simpsons on live television. So this is going to be instance numero uno, I believe.
Interesting. Good note.
Well, thank you, sir.
We cut back to our A-plot where we see what Bart has done with his soul money. He used that $5 on this scheme to buy those little sponges that when you get them wet, they turn into things. In this case, he bought ones that's going to turn into a giant T-Rex and attack his sister with funny-smelling water.
I love how you actually see him envisioning how it's going to be right before he squirts the water, too.
The fantasy's the best part, because he actually, fantasizes that the sponge will actually turn into a full-blown T-Rex, but then when it starts to chew on his sister, it actually seems like it's going to go really dark for a minute, and then it's, just really spongy, and Lisa complains, that she's getting dripped on, basically, so it's still a sponge. Yeah. It's really funny. I have to admit that this is actually the scene out of everything, and I'm not saying it's the best scene, but from childhood specifically, this is the scene that always stuck out with me the most, or to me the most, and it's mostly due to the fact I never got fooled by the sponges specifically, but at some point in this age, around this 10, 11-ish, or whatever it might be, maybe younger, I don't know, but essentially I got burned by a bad gift that was very well advertised, that looked like the coolest fucking thing on the planet, and it just wasn't. It was, fuck it, I think I'll call him out. It was the Air Hog, man. It was this remote control car that when you push this button, it was supposed to be able to, jump over fucking buildings and shit. That's slightly an exaggeration, but the commercials clearly showed it jumping, several feet. And I got that thing, and it barely popped a wheelie when you hit the button. It was pathetic. It was so disappointing, and I remember how upset. But something that just... I always found it funny that I saw these sponges all the time, and it reminded me of that experience, and it's all because of this whole scene right here. So, I just had this weird connection to the scene as a child where I've, that perfectly, my 10 or 11 or however old I was self at that point when this episode, I guess it was 10, when this episode came out, it perfectly formulated this scene was, how I felt in general about advertising. So, it just always stuck out with me.
You should have got a Nerf gun instead.
I probably should have. Those almost always lived up to their expectations.
Yep.
We should get a sponsorship.
Nerf. Because why not?
Yeah. Let's wait till that was really good. Let's save our A stuff until they pay us. So, either way, as you might expect, when Bart actually sprays this sponge with a hose, calling for Lisa to come to the driveway, all that happens is it turns into a slightly larger dinosaur sponge and then floats away and falls into the drain.
Oh. Now that one costs $5, wouldn't you get a pack of like 3 to 5 of them for $5?
Yeah, he even says later in the scene that he's going to keep his stupid sponges or his crappy sponges or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was a package of them. But either way, the big takeaway to Lisa is that Bart has $5, and she wants to know where he got it because she also wants $5.
I love the way that the line is read too. Where'd you get $5? I want $5.
It is really well done. Yeardley represents Lisa so well, and this is another perfect example.
It's one of those moments where you actually feel like she's a child.
And then also, though, still so intelligent and wise beyond her years, because immediately when Bart tells her that he sold his soul, she immediately is concerned because this, in her mind, your soul is the most valuable part of you.
You believe in that junk?
Well, whether or not the soul is physically real, Bart, it's the symbol of everything fine inside of us.
Tisk, tisk. Poor gullible Lisa. I'll keep my crappy sponges, thanks.
Bart, your soul is the only part of you that lasts forever. For $5, Milhouse could own you for a zillion years.
Well, if you think you got such a good deal, I'll sell you my conscience for $4.50.
Lisa starts to walk away frustrated.
I'll throw in my sense of decency, too. It's a Bart sales event. Everything about me must go.
This is great Bart arrogance. I love this, though. I mean, and honestly, the thing is, he's totally right, in my opinion, but obviously he's going to learn that maybe you should shut the fuck up about it sometimes. Because the universe is about to take a hard turn on Bart.
I think you and Bart learned different you and Bart learned different lessons in this episode.
Maybe.
You don't learn different episodes. I can't even do the backwards thing correctly. Let's just move on.
Fair. So Bart goes up to his room after this encounter with his sister, and things start to get just a little bit weird to start out. When he approaches his bed, Santa's little helper is laying on it, and he actually growls at Bart, which is very out of character. And then the cat also hisses at Bart, which cats are evil, so that seems like it probably is normal.
In character.
But the dog thing's weird.
And the cat's pretty uppity for someone who eats bugs all day.
He actually coughs at a bug, which is kind of crazy.
It's still alive.
Yeah, it crawls away. Bart decides to take his sorrows to go and drown it with a squishy. He heads to the Quickie Mart, and another weird occurrence when the automatic door refuses to open for Bart. It just remains closed, and Rod and Todd actually come up and have no problem. It opens immediately for them.
I love that it's Rod and Todd, because they could have done almost any character right here, but because it's like the churchy boys, I think it has a little extra oomph to it to illustrate the point of the episode.
It represents the dichotomy more than anybody else that you could have in terms of the children of Springfield. Like, it's a great choice. And I love, too, and they walk through and it opens. They're like, thanks, door.
Yeah. Just imagining them doing that every time.
Every single time.
Especially after Bart and Lisa kind of ruined them with Itchy and Scratchy just a week ago.
Well, and the language they'll be picking up from Mo later. Oh, my.
I want to say the line, but I'll save it.
As soon as Bart is able to make it inside, he sees Jimbo writing messages in his breath on the ice cream freezer. And Bart decides he's going to jump in there too, but for some weird reason, he just cannot seem to get condensation to breathe onto the glass. So he's unable to write, eat my shorts or whatever it was that he was planning on writing.
Way to breathe, no breath. I love, too, that Dolph is like, some ice cream guy's going to see that and it'll blow his mind.
He wrote, bite me. Yeah. It works on so many levels, man. To add insult to injury, Bart's kind of realizing, like, man, these are a lot of weird things happening back to back to back. And as he's thinking about it, he walks smack dab into the automatic door on the way out because it once again refuses to open.
Then Apu calls for Sanjay to go clean the entrance with Windex.
We cut back to Moe's, where Moe has actually cleaned up the place quite a bit. He's got a bunch of deliveries coming in, I should say, and he's actually reading a book called Your Gimmicky Restaurant by Bennigan and Fuddrucker. Two restaurants, for those of you that are unfamiliar here in the United States, chain restaurants that are specifically gimmicky. Yeah, honestly, I really liked Bennigan's too. Like, of all the chain restaurants, they had one that I enjoyed the most, and they went out of business.
So it's just a dated joke now. It's gone the way of Blockbuster.
Fuddruckers is still around, to be fair, but I think they're hanging by a thread. I don't really know. I just might have slandered them for no reason.
Please don't sponsor us. We don't want you.
Wait, what? No, I didn't say all that. Fuddruckers is the #1 burger in all of America. Wait, pay us first.
At the time that I just eat that one.
Yeah. Yeah, when I'm hungry enough, and that's the closest thing nearby.
Hello, Fuddruckers. We really enjoyed your entree. Please sponsor us now. That works for every ad we ever do.
Yeah, we just nailed it. We don't ever have to come to work again.
We pulled up Mr. Black.
We should just do the Mr. Black thing for all of the upcoming Simpsons episodes. Yeah, just
shout out to all of our podcasting friends that we submit stuff to.
Yeah, that's all you're getting forever.
Somebody's.
Until the joke just dies, which it never will because it's eternal. For now, though, the
speaking of eternal souls
around the bar, yeah, eternally the bar rats, I should say, they are trying to come up with a name for Moe's. They're saying things like Chairman Moe's Magic Walk, which is only a little racist.
I like it.
Madman Moe's Pressure Cooker.
I like it.
And Moe himself comes up with the idea of, how about Uncle Moe's Family Feed Bag?
I hate it. And this is all while Barney's under like a tarp or something, like at the bar. Like he's under the sheets.
Yeah, he got covered just like the rest of the furniture, implying that he was there when the workers were covering things. Moe doesn't have time to be frustrated with Barney, though, because he actually just had his deep fryer delivered, and he's super excited. He got it from the Navy. You can actually flash fry a buffalo in 40 seconds.
40 seconds? But I want it now!
I love Homer. He's just the best. You know, something I'm going to note, I have a lot to talk about as we get more into this restaurant, but something real quick with Moe, there is a disagreement with the way that he was animated in this episode. So he is featured in this episode more than he has been in any episode prior. So there was a lot more Moe than we're used to getting, and there were several scenes where he had the focal point, and they actually had animations where he was looking in directions that they'd never had him look before, like when he was doing the infomercial we'll talk about here in a bit, and things of that nature. And Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein were just very not happy with the way Moe looked, so they actually talked to Wes Archer, the director, and they had a discussion because they didn't like the tooth missing in Moe's mouth. It looked weird, and they didn't like it. That was Josh and Bill, but Wes Archer assured them that that's the way Moe has been from day one. It turned out that Wes Archer was in fact right. He showed the new showrunners that the character model has always had Moe missing a tooth, but Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein said, fuck it, we don't like it, so draw it in anyway. We're changing it because it just doesn't look right, and we don't want to look at it that way. So it ended up, everything worked out. I mean, this was not a heated discussion by any means. It was just a decision that they decided moving forward they were no longer going to have Moe missing that tooth.
Oh, well, I'm glad they did, because that would just look a little weird.
I think I could see why they did that.
Does it actually cut to the deep fryer outside when he mentions it too?
I believe it shows it actually being delivered, and it's huge, yes.
Well, I did notice that it was from the USS Missouri.
Oh, nice. They said it's from the Navy, so that makes sense.
But it actually says USS Missouri on the side of it, which was the battleship that actually helped get the surrender of Japan in World War II. Oh. I think it was one of the last commissioned battleship parts from then too. So like, it's really funny that this like historic ship, and that might be the ship they have in the movie Battleship that they actually get onto after all the other ones are blown up.
You mean starring the film actress Rihanna?
Yes, exactly what I mean.
I never saw that, to be honest.
Man, it's exactly what you want it to be. Like, working at Blockbuster, I will say, the critics hated that movie, but every single person that came in and rented it absolutely loved it. You know what you're getting with that movie.
Fair.
A board game. But anyways, I believe when all the other ships are blown up in that movie and they go to the decommissioned ship that's just like a tourist attraction, basically, to keep fighting the aliens. But apparently they can't cook any food on it because Moe now owns the deep fryer.
Yep, that's a bummer.
If it's the same USS Missouri, which it totally is.
After the scene with Moe's planning his restaurant, we get an episode of Itchy and Scratchy, which is called Skinless in Seattle, and it's a parody of Sleepless in Seattle. It's a parody of Sleepless in Seattle, obviously, where Itchy has invited Scratchy to meet at the famous Space Needle. Instead of it being a romantic gesture, however, it's actually a ploy to drop a penny on Scratchy. This is actually a reference to Matt Groening's other works, Life in Hell, where he once had incorrectly stated that if you dropped a penny from the top of the Empire State Building, it would embed into the concrete, and he had lots of nerds writing him, telling him how wrong he was. So this is a reference to that, as we see the penny go soaring by Scratchy and straight into the concrete. Since this doesn't work, Scratchy attempts again with a bunch of miniature Space Needle models. They all form a heart around Scratchy, so finally, in a Hail Mary attempt, he just crawls down and saws the actual Space Needle in half, where it goes plummeting and the point hits directly into Scratchy's upward-looking eye. I love the fucked up physics in this whole thing right here, because the pin somehow just stops dead as it makes contact with the eye, and he runs around balancing the entire Space Needle above him. Brilliant, brilliant, hilarious work, and anybody with a soul would be absolutely cracking up watching it.
And amazed at Scratchy's upper body strength.
Absolutely. Lisa, in fact, was just absolutely giddy, but Bart knew something was wrong because he wasn't laughing.
Pablo Neruda says, laughter is the language of the soul.
I am familiar with the works of Pablo Neruda.
I think we should do a test.
They set up a trap so that Homer takes a nasty fall on Bart's skateboard, and it goes perfectly. Homer's head actually goes slamming into the banister of the staircase and gets stuck, and then, the dog was like biting at his ass and he couldn't figure out what was going on. It was a hysterical scene. And Lisa, once again, was cracking up, but Bart literally just could not find a humorous thing about it.
That's creepy, Bart. I think you really did lose your soul.
This is where we see Homer crying, like, ow, who's doing that? Getting his
That's
ass
the part
hit.
that really sells the joke for me, is that, like, who else would it be biting his ass? Unless him and Margarine did some kinky shit.
Right, that's true, we don't know. Lisa is like, surely this is gonna do it, and Bart's like, nothing.
To be fair, though, Lisa isn't laughing when his ass is getting chewed, literally.
No, but I think at this point she's genuinely concerned that Bart isn't laughing, because that's truly getting a little bit into weird territory, because all of these things combined are quite the coincidence that maybe, just maybe, Bart was wrong about this whole soul thing.
It's not like he's so focused on that it's keeping him deterred from enjoying other things in life, right?
He's going to have some time to reflect on what's gone wrong this is the end of our first act, and we too are going to go ahead and take a real quick break, but we are going to be right back for Act 2 of Bart Sells His Soul.
Hey guys, I'm here to talk about a serious problem today. One that can affect us all, but it's also a problem that can be fixed with everyone's help. I'm Richie theWizKid, and I'm talking about podcasts. So many podcasts in the Somebody's Network need your help. They are being malnourished. Some are living in terribly harsh conditions, and some are Canadian. But with your help, a corner can be turned for these poor podcasts, especially in regards to Best Darn Diddly. You can go to popthreads.com and use the code Simpsons at checkout. Or you can buy Best Darn Diddly merch at tpublic.com. Most importantly, you can go to patreon.com/bestdarndiddly to donate now for as little as $1 a month. For less than 4 cents a day, you can bring a smile to these poor podcasters' faces. So let's work together to end the poverty of these podcasts. Let's be honest, you were probably just going to get a Krusty Burger with that dollar anyways. Cut to the pictures of starving podcasts.
We come back from our break and find that Bart has had a change of heart and is trying to find Milhouse in order
Change
to
of soul.
Yeah, well, he's wanting his soul back. He's decided the $5 was not worth it. He heads over to Milhouse's home where Milhouse's mother answers the door. I love, this is the first of a couple of sequences where the adults just make the most ridiculous observation.
Yes. Yes.
Bart asks if Milhouse is home, and Mrs. Van Houten replies, he's playing in the dirt with his army men. Oh, and a white piece of paper, I believe.
Like you said, I love how the adults are always paying attention to the white piece of paper. I don't understand why.
Well, how would somebody not notice something like that?
It's something in the writing, though, where like if she were to say it without that part, he's playing in the dirt with his army men, I believe. It's just like, okay, what point did that line serve other than to tell us where Milhouse is? But they do the Simpsons thing where they make it like a little odd and funny because of that, and that's how they do it every time they use that reference.
Absolutely, and on top of that, the extra pause really hammers it home because it means like she thought well enough of it to be like, oh, even though I've already technically completed that sentence, I should come back and list this additional piece of information because it's that important to the plot.
This erroneous detail.
Yeah, exactly. Hilarious. So Bart finds Milhouse. Actually, to be fair here too, the way Milhouse is playing with Bart's soul is fucking weird. Like
he's got too much soul.
He's got his army men battling over Bart's soul, but he literally has Bart's soul, a piece of paper, like in the battlefield in the dirt.
Getting a little tore up.
Milhouse.
Yes?
I bet you're getting tired of that soul, huh?
No.
Suppose someone wanted to, buy it from you.
Oh, you want to buy it back, Bart? Sure. No problem. $50.
What?
Who's stupid now, huh?
Richie's portrayal of that was actually almost spot on. The Milhouse is super maniacal in this scene. And again, this is all reference to Faust just to kind of hammer these points home. Something, though, that I thought was really interesting from the commentary of this DVD track, which I didn't mention it yet, but the commentary featured Bill Oakley, Josh Weinstein, Greg Daniels, the writer, David Silverman, the supervising director, Wes Archer, the director, and, of course, Matt Groening. Greg Daniels had a lot to say. He was, in fact, the writer of this episode, so he was responsible for a lot of the story, and almost all of it came from his real life. You see...
He sold his soul?
Not quite. Actually, Greg Daniels, first of all, he wants to note on the commentary that he does, in fact, or at least when he was in school, looked a lot like Milhouse. So that's going to give you just a little bit of background information. He also went to a boarding school, and he was, in fact, bullied. And one day, he decided that he had got the upper hand on his bully in a philosophical conversation. And he basically did this right here. He actually wrote out the bully's name, soul, on a piece of paper and had him sign it. And he did this for 50 cents. This guy sold his soul to him for 50 cents. And
wow.
Greg Daniels had a plan from the get-go, because he had actually convinced several of his friends after this happened to go up to the bully and kind of say some things that might scare somebody who had just lost their soul. Some of those lines even appear in this episode, like what Lisa talks to about Bart with Milhouse possibly owning his soul for a zillion years. All of this stuff really happens, and he did it intentionally to drive that price up, when sure enough, the bully came back asking to buy it back after he'd gotten spooked a little bit.
Wow, that is some... Speaking of maniacal with Milhouse, that's straight up lethal right there.
It's pretty dark, and Greg Daniels admits that not too long after this, he was actually considering trying to do it again, but while basically plotting, he realized that the only other person in history to profit off of people's souls is in fact Satan himself, and he spooked himself out of continuing it.
What if he is Satan?
He might be. But yeah, I just thought that was such an incredible story. And actually, the other part of the setting this in the church itself, a lot of the information he had from church is because he tried to date a girl who was super religious when he was younger, and he went to a church camp with her and took away all this information. So he brought a lot of himself to the script.
That's crazy. You love to hear where like a lot of the writing stories come from, because you hear all the time that writers pull from their personal lives a lot, and that they get their spouses or family members mad at them for showing too much inside information.
Stuff, sure.
I always heard Everybody Loves Raymond. That was the case all the time, that writers' wives were always pissed at them for bringing stuff they fought about onto the screen.
That doesn't surprise me even at all a little bit. That makes perfect sense. And, kind of the same concept, but on the animation side of things, we cut over to Mo, who is now actually cutting a commercial for his new family restaurant that is very much inspired by those chain restaurants we've already discussed. And in fact, Wes Archer, the director, took the animators to a Chili's to get inspiration for how they should deck out Mo's new bar, or bar and grill, I guess you might say.
Oh, well, that just sounds like a cheap excuse to write off a business expense at a Chili's.
They just wanted an awesome blossom. That's all that was. No, but you can kind of see it when you look on the walls. They've got a very similar aesthetic. I mean, with like the random signs and random stuff up on the walls. That was very much what both Applebee's and Chili's did in the 90s. I think that Chili's has changed I haven't been to a Chili's in a long time, but I do believe that they've changed up their style a little bit. But the last time I was at an Applebee's, they still had like random street signs and shit up all over the walls.
If you like good food, good fun, and a whole lot of crazy crap on the walls, then come on down to Uncle Mo's Family Feed Bag.
At Mo's, we serve good old-fashioned home cooking, deep fried to perfection.
They put the whole tray of food in the deep fryer with like the bottle of wine and everything, and it all gets deep fried.
It's like a fancy like full dinner, like a full like 5-course meal with like a bottle of champagne, and yeah, they just drop the entire tray in the deep fryer, which to be fair, it'll do a buffalo in 40 seconds.
That is
so
true.
Surely it can handle a 5-star dinner.
But then the dude actually takes a bite out of the champagne bottle.
Mo's response, though, is brilliant.
Now that's Mo like it. So bring the whole family. Mom, dad, kids. No old people. They're not covered by our insurance.
And then this next part is what is inevitably going to end up biting him in the ass. Not as literally as Homer's was earlier, but in a figurative sense.
It's fun! And remember our guarantee. If I'm not smiling when your check comes, your meal's on me. Uncle Mo's!
Come to Uncle Mo's for family fun. It's good, 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 good.
Sounds good.
Homer is so susceptible to marketing, and I love that that's a consistent trait about him.
But it's like, it's so exaggerated from how people in society actually are, because we wouldn't still have ads if they didn't work, right?
That's a good point. Continuing with Bart's story a little bit, we see that Marge is tucking him into bed and realizes there's just something a little bit off about him when she gives him a hug. She says something doesn't feel right, and she says a mother can always tell, and goes through a list of possibilities.
While she's hugging him in different ways.
Yeah. It's not fear of nuclear war. Not swim test anxiety. It almost feels like you're missing something. Something important.
Like I don't have a soul?
Honey, you're not a monster.
Oh. Why, Marge?
Well, she has no idea, but yeah, that's like the worst thing she could say at this point, and Bart is clearly shaken by it.
I love the dream sequence that he's going to have tonight, too. I don't know what it is about the dream sequences, but in this episode, they're just fantastic.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. This dream sequence is amazing. We see Bart drift off after just taking that, verbal shot from his mom that clearly upset him. And what he dreams is that he's in a world where everybody he knows has their soul literally or like physically next to them, partnered together to help them through life. And Bart is all alone. It gets really bad when they load into rowboats and everybody's able to sail across the pond except for Bart, who's just stuck going in circles. What's really fascinating about this sequence to me is this is another sequence I remember very fondly and very vividly. Like, I remember all of this from a kid. It's such a good, well done scene. And it turns out that it was largely, or at least partially, done by mistake. Because you see, Wes Archer failed to deliver the message to the animation department that when that scene was drawn, that the souls were supposed to be transparent. So it all came back with this twins of every character, essentially. And at first, Wes Archer had a little bit of a panic, but after doing a little bit of playing with some colorization, they were able to tint the souls blue, and it came out really, really nice.
Yeah. I do find it odd that this dream is like incredibly specific, but it just obviously it's a cartoon, it's a show, so it plays into everything. And Bart's worried about it, so he's thinking about it when he goes to bed, so he dreams about it. But it's like really on the nose for the point of the episode. But it's so beautiful. I even love like the Sherry and Terry doing the what are they? Now he's going straight to hello operator part, like.
Well, and then at the end too, they're the ones that kind of bring him out of the dream. Bart, it's time to end this dream, and don't forget the standard scream.
Ah!
Real quick note on that scene, that scream is actually reused footage from Treehouse of Horror 2 back in season 3.
It did look like I'd seen that before.
Yeah. His pajamas are also a different color in that scene compared to the rest of this episode. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Good scream still.
Yeah. All in all, though, again, that blue tint, I think, may have actually worked better. I obviously, we never saw it what it was intended to be, but I think the blue ended up really working well for what they needed it to be.
And it makes them more of a physical being, whereas if they're transparent, you can't explain things like when Nelson says, "Don't worry, I'm still behind you," and then pushes Bart over
himself,
his soul.
And he is physically behind them. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes more sense for jokes like that.
Sure. You know, I also really appreciate just, we were talking about Homer's character traits and how consistent when he was, like, susceptible to marketing. Well, he actually takes his family to Moe's, the new family restaurant. And I also love the consistency of Marge here because she's just blown away with the decorations. Oh my God, an alligator with sunglasses. Now I've seen everything.
Which every one of our parents did back in the day, I feel like. When your mom first walked in and saw that, it's like, license plates on the ceiling? Oh my goodness.
Now I know we're having fun.
Hiya, folks. Welcome to Uncle Moe's. Look at the little cute minas.
Homer is just completely blown away. It's like he's seeing a celebrity. Wow, that's Moe, the guy from the ad.
Right this way, Homer.
He knows my name.
Street signs indoors? Whatever.
This is like Marge turning up is what this is.
It's going down for real.
Absolutely, yeah. We see that Moe's family restaurant actually seems like it may have been a good idea as it's packed. Everybody's there. We see the Flanders are actually ordering, and we find out that it's Rod's big 1-0 because it's
he says
10.
He says it's your big 10-0.
10-0.
Isn't that 100?
That would be 100.
Damn. Are they trying to tell us something here?
Interesting.
I mean, their family does not age physically very well. We know Ned's a senior citizen. He still looks pretty young, so I don't know.
Yeah. This is a flash forward to season 90 of The Simpsons. Yeah. Well, Rod decides he's going to order the $1 million birthday fries, which causes everything to go crazy. The waiter gets excited, flashing lights and sirens start going off. Maude starts reading the menu. Maude starts reading the menu. Moe gets so excited when you order his $1 million birthday fries, he just has to celebrate. And we see Moe himself jumping around with sparklers and a basket of hot fries on his head.
Here you go. Here I am, Uncle Moe. Thank you, ma'am. This'll be a treat. Uncle Moe, here I am while you eat.
And he leans over the table and just kind of collapses so the kids can eat the french fries.
And Rod goes incredibly slow at picking the fries off this basket.
Slowest fry eater ever.
Please take the fries off my head, kid. This basket is extremely hot.
Moe, you can see, is maybe having a few struggles. I mean, I think he's excited to have the business, but this is not necessarily what it was cracked up to be. He's taking the Simpsons orders, and he's getting a lot of questions about the menu, but he just keeps reading the description from the menu itself, so he's not really answering. Until Marge actually says she wants to order the guilt-free steakfish fillets.
Nah, let me level with you, Marge. That's just our name for bottom-feeding suction eel. You don't want that.
Oh.
Why don't you try Moe's Hobo Chicken Chili? I start with the best part, the neck. And then I add secret hobo spices.
Ooh, Trace bien.
Yeah.
We see that Mo starts getting squirted by Ralph's like a water gun, and he starts to freak out a little bit.
Hey, what the hell are you doing, you little freak?
But he immediately starts backtracking when Ralph starts crying.
Oh, sorry, kid, sorry. I'm not used to the laughter of children. It cuts through me like a dentist drill. But no, that was funny. That was funny, taking away my dignity like that. I feel like Mo could have solved a lot of this if he hired somebody else to be like the spokesperson for...
Yeah, he does not need to be the face of this company, even with his tooth replaced.
Well, we'll learn in a later season as well that he has one of the ugliest mugs in show business when he looks directly at the camera. Because they actually give him plastic surgery in a future episode.
Truth. To round out this act, we have the Simpsons about to eat dinner, and Lisa decides that she actually wants to say grace, but we quickly discover that she's just kind of poking and prodding at her brother a bit.
Lord, have mercy on my soul, and Mom's soul, and Dad's soul, and Maggie's soul, and let every soul in Christendom...
And at this point, Bart just cannot take it anymore, and he throws a french fry at Lisa. Marge immediately scolds, Bart! Bart!
I can't take this anymore! I want my soul, and I want it now!
At first, Homer's upset because Bart runs out the restaurant, and Homer yells out, Bart, you didn't finish your spaghetti and mo balls! And we get this great it's not really a callback, it's just a reusing of an old gig, which I attribute to Josh and Bill being super fans, as they've discussed in the past, where they were able to take this concept that they've seen used dozens of times, where Homer and his brain have a discussion, but they gave it a fresh new edge and a little bit of a new angle that I really appreciate. As Homer calls out to stop his son and warn him he needs to eat his dinner, we hear his brain respond.
Silence, you fool! It can be ours!
And suddenly Homer's digging in, yelling, Run, boy! Run! Run for your life, boy! Rum, 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 rum.
I find it odd that just a week ago, they were trying to keep the kids from being baptized, and yet in this episode, they're actually saying grace at the table. I feel like
it's interesting that they hit religion super hard with the first two episodes out the gate, and I don't think they really intended for that to happen necessarily, but it was more so just two family-driven plots that they wanted to ground their start with the series on.
Well, I feel like soul, the idea of a soul can transcend the idea of religion, because people can not believe in religion but still believe in the soul.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely believe in, like, soul music. That's great shit.
Oh.
All right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. We are going to be right back for the conclusion of Bart Sells His Soul right after we hear from some buddies of ours.
Holy sidetracking, guys! The train just came off the tracks! Derailers!
Be sure to follow the Derailers on Twitter at The Derailers!
And make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and also on YouTube, so you can catch the episode next week, folks! Same derailment time, same derailment channel.
Our third act starts out very similar to our second act, but everything is turned up. It's a lot more intense, as Bart has gotten desperate at this point, and he's not just knocking on Milhouse's door, he is pounding on Milhouse's door, screaming that Milhouse wins. He just wants this nightmare to end. And right on cue, the nightmare gets worse as a creepy space-suited figure with a gold mask, very similar to a movie by the title of E.T. you may have come across in your passing of life. And they open the door and greet Bart.
Leave this place. You are in great danger.
Where's Milhouse?
The one you call Millhouse is gone.
I don't know why he's talking in such a creepy voice, because he immediately pulls off his helmet and it's just a totally normal dude.
He went to his grandma's place while we're spraying for potato bugs.
And they pull back, and you can see that Millhouse's entire home is covered in a big, bright tent. And it really makes you wonder, how the hell did Bart not notice that?
Oh. And then we get Bart talking about one odd detail that the guy totally paid attention to.
Oh, when Millhouse left, did you notice if he was carrying a piece of paper?
Oh, yeah. You don't forget a thing like that.
Oh, back to metaphorically biting Mo in the ass. Those $1 million birthday fries are really starting to take a toll. You can see that Mo just doesn't have the energy that he once did. He comes out and he does a, "Here you go, here I am, Uncle Mo. Thank you, ma'am. This'll be a treat. Uncle Mo, here I am while you eat."
And he's like doing that really hard forced smile too.
Yeah, very much so, like grinning and bearing it. He lays down on the table to let Sherry have her $1 million fries, but she just immediately says, "Yay, now do it for Terry."
Wow, it's your birthday too?
We're twins. Oh, and the crushing defeat that Mo has in this. I mean, he barely spits it out the second time. "Here you go, here I am, eat your fries, eat them." And he just puts it down on the table.
But he does that really hard sigh too beforehand.
Yeah, it's taking a toll, and you can tell, and it just starts piling on right here. Because immediately he runs into a kid who has drawn a picture of Mo, and he's labeled it Mr. Stinky, and he even put the stink lines in, and everything.
Ah, jeez. And you got the stink lines and everything.
So this actually makes Mo, you can see he's actually sad at this point, and he reaches out to give Snake or Jailbird his check.
Oh, dude, you did not smile. Weed for free. Come on, Shoshana, let's roll.
Ah, but I sang you the potato stuffings. Come on, I sang you the potato stuffings.
Look at the vein on that guy's forehead. He's gonna blow.
And this animation is wonderful because Mo, you can see the vein popping, his eyes twitching. He looks like he is about to lose it. And then the sweetest of children comes up and tugs on his shirt. "Unky Mo?"
What is it, sweetheart?
"My sody is too cold. My teeth hurt."
Oh, your teeth hurt, huh? Your teeth hurt? Well, that's too freaking bad. You hear me? I'll tell you we can put your freaking sody, too.
Everybody in the restaurant gasps, and we see the Flanders are trying to cover their children's ears. I love Todd's response. "Ow, my freaking ears!"
Oh, let's go, dear.
"Well, I expect that type of language at a Denny's, but not here." Ned is so upset. That's actually a reference to a real-life controversy or scandal, I guess you might say, about Denny's in the 90s, where they had a lot of issues where basically it was found out there was a lot of racist policies in their company, and they were known for not being the classiest of places to visit, but it seems like they've turned themselves around quite a bit since then, hopefully.
I think I've only been to a Denny's a small number of times in my life. For some reason, if my parents ever asked me if I wanted to go to Denny's, I'd rather go to IHOP.
I'm kind of with you on that. I think IHOP is superior, personally. But hey, if Denny's wants to sponsor us, we're not saying no.
We'll move them up to the same level as IHOP.
That's the theme of this episode.
Our souls are for sale. That's the theme of the episode.
So actually, a couple things real quick. According to the commentary, the Todd line, "Ow, my freaking ears," is a reference to the fact that there are tons and tons of complaints about parents saying that their kids are emulating The Simpsons, even though it was never intended for them. So this is kind of that joke on that. And then also, you can immediately see Mo has realized he's kind of fucked up because he starts pleading with people, and he's got a great joke here.
Come on, folks. Wait, please come back. Please, I got a new offer. Whenever Uncle Mo threatens you, you get a free steak. Fish.
Which we already know is just the bottom sucking heels, we're pretty sure. Yeah. Mo is defeated as everybody walks out on him, and Bart is equally defeated as he is desperately trying to get to his soul. He's got a map, he's got his bike, he realizes that Milhouse's grandmother lives on 257th Street.
Why is there 257th Street?
Well, he's on 3rd, so
Oh.
it's not looking great. And to make matters worse, immediately after realizing that he's got 254 blocks to go, his bike gets ran over by a street cleaner, and he barely himself gets out of the way. But in the first bit of luck to go Bart's way in the entire episode, it seems that the bike is fine. In fact, if anything, it's just cleaner and more sparkly than it was before.
Wow.
He hops on and declares, "Wow, finally a little luck." Only for the entire bike to shatter to pieces around him.
Well, then you get the street cleaner guy laughing back at him before he tumbles down the subway or whatever that blum, 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 blum.
It's such a weird joke. Yeah, he drives down the stairs into the subway, and it just ends.
The weird part for me is I feel like the street cleaner guy looks a lot like the fumigation guy that we just saw in the previous scene with Bart. Like their character design looks very similar to me.
Maybe they're cousins.
Or maybe everything's been in Bart's head this entire time.
It's all just a dream.
Maybe they were soul brothers.
Nice. I see what you did there. Mm-hmm. We have Bart still desperate, trying to get to Milhouse, and he actually passes and sees Police Chief Wiggum, or more specifically Ralph, sitting in Wiggum's car because Wiggum had to go and deal with a crazy person on the street. Real quick fun fact on that crazy person. In the script, the only thing they had written down for him was incoherent rambling, and Dan Castellaneta did a full 2-minute rant where he just spit this out in one take, and it ended up being perfect for what they needed it. But they were just like, he is an improvisational genius when it comes to stuff like this. He just goes.
Yeah, I mean, people might hear 2 minutes and be like, no big deal. But if you ever sit down and try to just ramble for 2 minutes straight, it's a lot longer than you think.
And in character, too.
Yeah.
Like, everything he says, he actually spouted off the things about how, like, Alfred Hitchcock stole every one of his ideas and, like, started going down that. It was really fun to hear the ramblings. Also, the way that character moved and acted was, on the commentary, they said that might have been early inspiration for the crazy Catwoman, who will debut in 2 seasons from now.
Whoa, man, that soon? I don't remember it being that soon on the show.
Yeah, I guess so, but you can kind of see, like, the crazy ramblings of the character being similar.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm jumping ahead 2 seasons. I'm not the biggest fan of Crazy Cat Lady.
I'll wait until we get there to voice my opinion. For now, we still got a lot of this episode to go, so Ralph is waiting in the car while his dad handles this lunatic, and Bart kind of slips in, and he's acting downright crazy. It's a great interaction, though, because he just sits up next to Ralph and is like, "Hello, Ralph."
Hi, Bart. I know you from school.
I love that Ralph says that. I don't know why, but it's just the way it's like almost like he's like discovering that fact.
Well, I think they want to remind the audience that they actually have had interaction before.
That could be too, yeah. Yes, Ralph, a simple proposition. How would you like to make $1?
I don't know.
All you have to do is sign a paper that says I can have your soul. I need a soul, Ralph. Any soul. Yours! Hey, what's going on over there? And Bart actually kind of like gets weird like cat eyes and he hisses, or snake eyes, and he like hisses and scampers away. He actually disappears into the smoke coming from the
Yeah, I love that shot. It's so cool. And this is the scene I always remember from this episode, too, since the first time I watched it. You know, because he doesn't have a soul, Miles.
We do get another wrap-up over at Moe's where he's saying, "Go on, take it all, get it all out of here."
You know, Mo, you might want to keep the fire extinguishers.
Nah, too many bad memories.
Well, look at the bright side, Mo. You still got us.
Yeah, you know that? That actually makes me feel a little better.
Why? That was the problem in the first place. You were going broke because we were your only customers. Wasn't that the problem in the first place?
The entire time this is going on, it's a single shot, and Moe just looks depressed as fuck. He's barely responding, but somewhat acknowledging that Homer is in fact correct.
That you were going broke? Moe? Moe? Hey, Moe! Oh, you're thinking about all the money you blew, aren't you?
You just get this subtle little nod from Moe in that moment.
What was it? $50,000? $60,000? Moe, look. Maybe it would help if you went over all the mistakes you made from the beginning. Moe?
Ah, what?
Let me get a pen.
Homer is the worst friend at a time like this. He just pisses all over this poor guy's dream. One other thing I'm going to say about the whole Moe's Family Restaurant thing before we close out that storyline is back to the Wes Archer having gone out and, studied these restaurants to try to get it right. He admits that it was a really difficult task, and he doesn't actually feel like they ever truly got it right. It was always a little bit off in his mind, and he just wasn't ever happy with the results. But I actually thought it looked pretty good. I think he may have just been a little bit too close to it, or possibly just, just a little bit too critical of his own work.
Yeah, or maybe built it up in his mind that it would look or feel a certain way, and it's just even if it falls slightly short of that, it can still be a really great thing.
Sure. When we catch up with Bart, he has finally gotten to Milhouse's grandmother's house, but it's 2:00 in the morning, so immediately Grandma's suspicious. A caller at this hour? You dial 9-1, and when I say so, dial 1 again. When Milhouse sees Bart at the door, he's like, Bart, I can't play now, it's 2 a.m.
Milhouse, I've got to have my soul back. I'll do anything you want.
Well...
Milhouse, give him back his soul. I've got work tomorrow.
I love how Mr. Van Houten is just so casual. It's as if it was an army man or a video game.
Yeah.
That they had borrowed and not given back, yeah. Milhouse apologizes, though, because he kind of traded his soul to the guy at the comic book store. Oh. But, hey, look, I got some cool pogs, and they have Alf on them. Remember Alf? He's back in pog form.
You traded my soul for pogs? Ah!
All this internal crisis is happening in Bart's life, and the grandma just yells out, close the door, you're letting the heat out.
Shut up, shut up, shut up!
Mr. Van Houten just desperately wants to go to sleep.
I don't know, is that Kirk's mom? Or
They look so fucking... Yeah.
Whose mom is that?
I don't know. So similar, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. It's a Game of Thrones shit going on over there. Even though one's from Springfield and one's from Shelbyville.
Bart is on his last hope. He goes and meets up at the android's dungeon to try to get his soul back, but unfortunately, immediately, comic book guy knows who Bart Simpson is, which is a bad sign, first of all, and also lets him know... And he does it pretty quickly, especially because his breakfast burrito is congealing rapidly. So he's blunt and tells Bart that his soul was sold last night. He found a buyer right away for that item.
Who?
I am not at liberty to divulge the party, but they were most interested in having possession of a little boy's soul. Which is creepy as fuck.
Bang, bang, bang.
Excuse me, no banging your head on the display case, please. It contains a very rare Mary Worth in which she has advised a friend to commit suicide. Thank you.
That's a really good comic book guy, man.
Thank you.
What I find interesting in this scene is there's a Red Sox banner hanging in the background.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, and it just completely caught me off guard. I don't remember ever seeing any kind of real non-comic related items in the comic book store. And it got me thinking, I thought one of our friends talked to us about this once, and maybe that's why it jumps out at me. I don't know if it was Patty Cakes, but I may have dreamed this. It may be my soul dream sequence, but it made me think, did someone actually ask us this before? So if you're listening to this random friend of ours, please remind me if I need to give partial credit to somebody else. But there is a Red Sox banner in the background in the comic book store, and I just found that odd.
That is interesting. I did not notice that at all. Much like the Red Sox were for a very long time, Bart leaves dejected.
Miles' one sports quota for the month, folks. You got it right there.
Got it.
And it was a doozy.
Nailed
Even
it.
though they just won the World Series again.
Yeah. Well, back in 95, they sure as fuck hadn't.
They started using steroids after that.
Yeah, that might or might not be true. I don't know. I'm sure it is. Either way, Bart has truly gotten desperate when he gets home, and this is actually kind of an emotional scene. The way Nancy Cartwright delivers it, the shakiness to Bart's voice, the tears that well up. I mean, this feels very, very real. And he gets on his knees and he pleads with his one last option. He cries out to God, "Are you there, God? It's me, Bart Simpson." Which that line right there is actually a reference to the young adult novel "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret" by author Judy Blume.
Makes sense.
I know I never paid too much attention in church, but I could really use some of that good stuff now. I'm afraid. I'm afraid some weirdos got my soul and I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I just want it back, please. I hope you can hear this.
Flutter.
The soul,
Flutter.
the piece of paper with his soul literally lands right in front of Bart as he's praying, as if from some holy force above. But it turns out it was just Lisa. Lisa? You bought this?
With the change in my piggy bank.
There's no change in your piggy bank.
Not in any of the ones you know about.
Oh, Lise. Thank you. And he actually gives her a kiss on the cheek, which is relatively rare, I would say.
Happy to do it. But you know, Bart, some philosophers believe that nobody is born with a soul, that you have to earn one through suffering and thought and prayer, like you did last night.
Uh-huh. And we see Bart barely acknowledging his sister and just chewing up the piece of paper and swallowing it, putting his soul back a lot more literally than Lisa was.
I really like her little speech right there, though. Like, it's very, very awesome, I think. Like, the whole idea that, like, it's something that you could either say you had from the get-go and you never really lost it, or the fact that the journey is more important than the destination.
Sure.
Like, he has the soul through all the effort he put into trying to get the soul, so that's what actually gave it to him. So it was about the journey for him and everything he went through.
And, you know, there's a lot about this ending that reminds me of with the Jazzman episode where Bart actually he buys the album for Lisa to save her soul in a different sort of way. And I just thought there was a fun, it's like a payback.
It's like
here.
a payback, yeah.
It's great. It's really good.
We both took that same note, Miles. I'm proud of us.
And as Bart drifts off to sleep, finally at peace for the first time since he sold his soul like 23 minutes ago, episodic time, he drifts into that same dream world that he was in earlier, only this time he has his partner. He has his blue soul buddy, and they get in their rowboat and they take off towards, which is essentially this weird like metaphor for like afterlife, it seems. They even noted in the commentary, it's like, we kind of implied Bart died here, so that's strange. But in true Bart fashion, they see Martin and Martin's soul singing a lame-ass song as they row along. So the two Barts ram their rowboat, causing Martin to be flung into the pond or lake or whatever it is.
The Soul Sea.
The Soul Sea.
Or the Sea of Souls.
We fade to black over the credits at the end of our episode as Bart and his soul laugh together as they row towards Mecca, I guess. And
nicely put.
Richie, was there anything else that you or that book of yours want to point out about Bart Sells His Soul?
My guidebook, The Simpsons, The Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family, pointed out things that we've already talked about, but the one we didn't was one of the specials on Moe's board in the restaurant was ranchy wingy things. So it totally sounds Moe-esque to me.
Yeah, it's from the General Wing region.
Yeah, thingies. But other than that, I really enjoyed this episode. I know you were looking forward to this one a lot, but a lot like last week, this episode played out much better than I remember it, even though I had a good memory of the episode, a very positive memory. It was very, very well done. I don't, like, it sounds like I'm not saying nice enough things about the episode, but like, I was very impressed with this episode.
I couldn't agree more, and I have a couple of things to talk about before we're done here, and kind of playing into what you just said, as well done as this episode is, it's been noted by other people than just us, because This episode has been used in church courses, believe it or not, both in Connecticut and the United Kingdom. It's been shown by many ministers in their sermons demonstrating the idea of a soul. They actually use the dream sequence a lot more often than any other, but this whole episode has been used by many religious studies, and I think it's kind of cool that even though, I don't necessarily agree with those beliefs, I think it's really neat, just like we do with the college courses, that some of these religious schools and these ministers have been able to use this episode for their purposes.
That's really interesting, actually. Hey, everyone can apply The Simpsons.
Going further with the religion thing, there's something fun from the commentary as well. This is going to be a bit long, I apologize, but the episode actually features all 7 deadly sins, and that was done with intention from the writing staff.
Oh.
We see lust when Homer and Marge remember making out to Indigata, and everyone in church is looking sweaty and kind of like they may have just done it, or, whatever. They look all hot and bothered, you might say. We see gluttony when Mo is converting his bar into a restaurant. He gets that deep fryer and says it can deep fry a buffalo in 40 seconds. Nobody really needs that. And even Homer's response, "Oh, I want it now."
Gluttony. Gotcha.
Yeah. We see greed when Reverend Lovejoy is counting the church collection money as Bart and Milhouse are saying, arguing over the soul. And it's like, what could possibly be the motive?
Did you say Mo?
We see sloth when Bart and Milhouse slack off while cleaning that same organ. We see wrath from both Reverend Lovejoy. He's angry when he gets fooled at the beginning of the episode. We see Mo, who's angry with the little girl who complains about her tooth being cold, or tooth. And we see Bart get angry at Lisa after she starts praying in the restaurant. We're down to envy, which sees Mo envying the profits of the family restaurants around him. Lisa wanting the $5 that Bart had after she tells him she has it, and Bart envying the kids in his dream because they have souls. And finally, we have pride, which is, of course, Bart being too proud from the get-go to even believe he has a soul until all of these strange events add up to convince him that he really did lose it.
Now, isn't that just the cleverest of things, Miles?
I thought so. I know that was really heavy, so one last thing to end this. You mentioned that this is one of my favorite episodes, and I stand by that still. I think this was an episode that I had strong memories of and expectations of, and I think it lived up completely. This story is wonderful, and I'm in good company here because many people from The Simpsons have stated this in their top episodes. For instance, Yeardley Smith in an interview said that this, along with The Simpsons Girly Edition from 1998, were 2 of her favorite episodes. Nancy Cartwright listed this one along with Lisa's Substitute and Bart the Mother as her favorite episodes. And in a 2005, so it's a little dated, but in a 2005 interview, Matt Groening said that he doesn't have a single favorite episode, that there's just a bunch that he really does like. But the 2 episodes that he mentioned were Homer's Enemy and this one, Bart Sells His Soul.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if this squeaked into my top 5. And this is going to be like, I've noticed when we do all these season finales, that I usually have one that's not straight funny, that's got a little more soul behind it, that's been sneaking into my list in the last few seasons. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one kind of snuck in there.
I would say even stronger that this one's going to have a hard time finding its way out of my top 5. But the problem with that is we're still so early in the season. We're only 4 episodes in at this point, and they've all been great. We have 21 more episodes to go. There's a lot of great ones. We have a lot of great guests ahead. So there's still a lot to look forward to with this season's Best Darn Diddly. But that is going to do it for this week's show. So once again, the WizKid and I just want to thank you so much for joining us along with this Simpsons journey through the Golden Age and beyond. We appreciate you downloading and sharing and all that great stuff each week. I know I already talked about it, but it seems so appropriate since this is Bart Sells His Soul. Guys, we do have a Patreon. My Soul is a legit tier. It's $5 a month. It also includes stickers and some other cool stuff, shout outs, things like that. There's other cool stuff on that Patreon. It's patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. So please do us a favor and get on there and support us any way you can.
And if you can't support us on Patreon, guys, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter. Miles is at MrMostDaysOff. I'm at theWizKid23. Also follow our show, which is at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY. That also works on all social media, Facebook, Instagram. Check out our YouTube channel. We put stuff on there as well. And we just really, I don't want to say support the support, but we really
Appreciate the
love
support.
the support.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. We really appreciate the support that you guys give us. Thank you for always interacting with us, and thank you for coming along on this ride with us.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to do it again next week, and the WizKid and I will be back to discuss Lisa the Vegetarian.
So bring the whole family, mom, dad, kids, no old people. They're not covered by our podcast insurance.
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Rising from the depths of a state called Michigan, two inebriated dorks prepare their plan for intergalactic domination. Mixing their extensive knowledge of geek culture with their insatiable thirst for alcohol, these two man-children bring you a show like you've never heard before. They will tell you tales from faraway lands and have you questioning their taste in beer. But make no mistake, friend, for the best coverage of your favorite comics, films, and TV shows, there's no better source for you to get your fix. So listen up, strap in, and prepare yourself as Jake and Tom conquer the world.